What up, folks? It's your boy Tim again, Chicago, sitting in the work van. I had to do a follow-up video. This is in regards to yesterday's video, but as you can see, this one is titled, "What Would Afghanistan Be Like Had Trump Received a Second Term?" And the reason I'm asking this is because it's all over conservative media, it's all over the news. What would have happened if Trump had still been in office? Would this mess that's happening right now be still going on? As you know, I mean, everything in Afghanistan that is not Taliban is trying to flee Afghanistan. I mean, it's, women are expected to be ostracized and put back in their place. Anybody who helped the United States out during the war is expected to potentially be punished, if not killed. And, it's just probably as bad as it can get right now. And some of the scenes coming out of that country are horrific. They're just heartbreaking. But what would have happened if Trump was in power? Now, before we tackle that, I'm asked that you do what I always ask you to do. Go ahead and smash that like button. Doesn't cost you a cent. If you dislike what I'm saying, feel free to hit the dislike button, but drop me a comment. Tell me why, because I respond to any and all comments, and we can talk about it there. Also, feel free to hit the subscription button and click on that bell so you know when I'm talking to you. One other thing before we go, as I've mentioned in most of my videos now, I'm working on a venture, the Tim and Rich Show. The Tim and Rich Show. Go to Facebook, type in a search, The Tim and Rich Show, R-I-C-H, The Tim and Rich Show. Take you to our page. Same thing you're seeing here on YouTube. The only difference is we do it live. You can call in by phone and talk to us live. It's me and my moderate conservative counter host. We're talking about the same type of politics, racial issues, and all of the things we talk about on the channel. You can call us in. Call in, talk to us, or you can respond with a comment in the live feed, and we do address your comments as well. That is Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, The Tim and Rich Show. Now, what would Afghanistan be like if Trump had been given a second term or had been reelected? Right off the bat, I would say what's going on now would not be happening. Trump is a very competitive guy. He doesn't like, a tarnished image. That's not to say that his image isn't tarnished right now, but what's going on in Afghanistan, he had made it clear when he made the deal with the Taliban that if they didn't honor their end of the deal, the United States would punish them, respond militarily. So most likely, the Taliban would not be taking over Afghanistan right now. But before we give Trump credit on this, let's call it what it is. If you punish them, that means you're sending military over there to do what needs to be done to keep them in order. Now, I do believe that's what would have happened, and things in Afghanistan would have still been under control. But that's not the goal. The ultimate goal was for Afghanistan to be functioning as its own democracy and for the U.S. soldiers to pull out. That's what Trump was working on when he got elected in 2016, is to pull the U.S. troops out of there. He made a deal with the Taliban that they would not attack the U.S. forces, and there would be certain things they would not go back to doing that they were doing before, primarily the mistreatment of women. And yeah, they made a deal. So our end of the deal was to, essentially pull out of Afghanistan. Now, most of us do not trust the Taliban. And keep in mind, Trump also made a deal with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, and he broke that as well. So my guess is that as long as Trump kept U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan, Taliban would have been kept at bay. But the minute we started withdrawing our troops out of Afghanistan under Trump, this is what would have happened if Trump was in office. The minute Trump started withdrawing troops out, the same thing would have happened. Now, let's pretend like what the conservatives are saying, that the Taliban was fearful of Trump. There was no way they were going to test Trump's might. Okay, Trump would draw the troops out of Afghanistan, and because they fear Trump, they don't do anything. Well, at the very best, Trump had a maximum of 8 years in office. 8 years, he would have gotten 2 terms. What happens after he's gone? Okay, if you fear Trump, because that's what's happening. That's what they're saying is happening now, that they wouldn't have done this under Trump, but because they don't fear Biden, they're doing it under Joe Biden. What people don't realize is that when you make a deal, when two countries make a deal or two entities make a deal, you're not making a deal with that president. You're making a deal with America. So if you honor the deal under Trump because you're afraid of him, but you violated under Joe Biden because you're not afraid of Joe Biden, then you didn't honor the deal. So you put Trump in for a second term. Taliban's afraid of him. They honor the deal. Okay, after Trump has done his second term in 2024, we elect Ron DeSantis or, who knows? It could be, well, let's God forbid AOC, but let's just say, Elizabeth Warren gets elected or someone like that, or Andrew Yang or some, and they're not afraid of DeSantis or Yang or Elizabeth Warren. And then they do the same thing. So you go back to saying, well, they were scared of Trump. Okay, they're scared of Trump. If you really want to believe that Trump is that bad and mighty, he's only going to get 8 years. Okay, so what's happening right now in 2021, it just happens in 2025. That's not success. If Trump had left the country in 2021, and by 2025 he leaves office and the Taliban takes over and they're abusing women and doing everything. The only difference is, okay, well, they held out for 4 years. Afghanistan had 4 good years after Trump was gone. Yahoo! But the fact of the matter is, American presidents are not dictators. They have a limited time in office. So any deal you make, it can't be contingent on you remaining in office forever because you're not going to be there. This is not like Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un where you make a deal. Kim Jong-un is in his 30s. You make a deal with him, he may be around for the next 40 years. Vladimir Putin is in his 60s or whatever. He may be around for another 20 years. So then, yeah, you get a wider span of time. Trump, when he made the deal, was probably going to be around for another 6 or 7 years. Okay, we can wait. We can hold out and wait until he's gone or toward the end of his term or when something else in America happens where they're not able to respond to this right away. And it's as simple as that. So it goes back to my original question. What would have happened if Trump had gotten a second term? Everything that's happening now, just potentially on a delay. That's it, just on a delay. Because that's the only thing we're looking at is that, well, they would have not dishonored their agreement with Trump because they feared him. Well, the minute he leaves, they go right back to where they were because they don't fear the next guy. That's not a deal. That's not success. That's just kicking the can down the road. And that's the whole issue with this. Not defending Joe Biden at all because what's on TV looks like shit. But the fact of the matter is, Joe Biden has been president for 7 months, 8 months, or whatever the case may be. We've been in Afghanistan for 20 years. 20 fucking years. He pulls out, and within a month or two, the whole country is overran. Not one shot is fired in defense of Afghanistan by the powers that be in the country. The president of Afghanistan flees. And all of this is Joe Biden's fault? Only in 7 months' time. Something is wrong there. It just goes to show you what the hell was going on for the first 20 years we were there. That Joe Biden could fuck all of that up in 7 months of time in office, or better yet, in 1 month from the withdrawal. So I don't think that it's necessarily just Joe Biden's fault. I don't think there's anything he could have done. You got two choices. He could have done what's happening now and looked like a complete fuck up, or he could have done what I say Trump would have done, and that is extend the amount of time we were over in that country providing protection for them, which is what people are arguing now. You shouldn't have withdrawn. You should have left a contingency force behind, et cetera, et cetera. Well, after 20 years, when does it end? I mean, like literally, are we supposed to be in that country forever? As John McCain said in 2008, you would have to stay over there for the next 100 years. It looks like he is correct. Looks like he was correct when he said that. Because after 20 years you leave and that country is gone to shit in 1 month. So, there's no way that it seems right to just say all of this is Joe Biden's fault. No, the problem is we withdrew and they're not ready to do anything on their own. So then, if Trump had won a second term, he probably would have to leave a contingency force over there as well, or punish them like he said he was going to do, which in regards is another contingency force, probably even a larger one, because if the Taliban was doing what they're doing now, which is seizing the entire country, and Trump wanted to punish them, then the only way you're going to do that is to send a lot of military people back over there. And like I said, the will of the people was that we withdraw from this Longest war in U.S. history conflict. So there's no way it's a lose-lose situation. You can either defend Afghanistan and not have these bullshit images that are being televised on TV, or you can pull everyone out, which is what the American people wanted. They wanted the soldiers to come home. But if you pull them out and send them home, you're going to get exactly what you're seeing on TV. There's no way to do both. There's no way to pull the soldiers out and get the Taliban to do what we want. They've never wanted to do what we want. They've always wanted Sharia law. They've always wanted women to be in their own place. There's no way to stop that other than to leave American soldiers there. Now, keep in mind, we do have soldiers in Korea, soldiers in Japan, soldiers in Germany that have been there since World War II. So it's not like we haven't left soldiers in place for generations. So we could have done this, but the will of the American people, they wanted all the troops to come home. And they celebrated that when Trump said he was going to do that. So despite us saying that it looks like a complete fuck up from Joe Biden, Trump said he wanted to bring them home and everybody wanted that to happen. Biden is bringing them home and it's going to shit. You know, the argument that they would have been scared of Trump, that's like I mentioned earlier in the video, that's not how this works. I mean, like I said, we made deals to keep troops in Japan, keep troops in Germany, keep troops in South Korea. These deals were made with presidents back at the end of World War II. You can't just make a deal with Lyndon Johnson. That deal applies to every president after that. So the idea, well, I'm going to break this deal because I'm not afraid of the current president in office, then you're breaking the fucking deal. It has nothing to do with being afraid or liking the person in office or not. You didn't make a deal with Trump. You made a deal with the United States, and that's something that the conservative media needs to realize. But I'm going to end the video, and I'm going to ask you, what do you think would have been going on had Joe Biden lost the election? I'm sure a lot of you wish that had happened. But had Trump been elected and given a second term, and I'm using Trump because, I mean, we could talk about Elizabeth Warren, a lot of liberals that ran. We could talk about other conservatives that might want the office. But what do you think would have happened if Trump won a second term? Do you think we would be dealing with what we're dealing with now? Do you think he would have been able to successfully bring the troops home and have the Taliban behave in the manner we wanted them to and leave behind a Democratic elected government in Afghanistan? Do you think Trump could have pulled all of that off? And if you do think he could have pulled it off, do you think he could have pulled it off where it was running autonomously and indefinitely, meaning that once he left office, it continued running that way? If so, explain that to me. How do you think that would have worked? Look forward to hearing from you once again. If you like this type of stuff, feel free to tune into our show Wednesday night, 7 p.m. on Facebook. The Tim and Rich Show, 7 p.m. Wednesday nights Eastern Time. Your boy Chicago out.